We are excited to welcome you to our Trent talk that is titled, What Distinguishes You from a Robot in the Business Environment? Which is very excited, and I am very interested in hearing more about that today. My name is Davina, and I'm a third-year business student specializing in accounting at Trent University, Durham, and I will be your moderator for today. And I'm joined today, of course, by our expert professor in the School of Business, Mahir Galani. We will be starting today with a 45-minute lecture from the professor, and we will end the talk with the question and answer period. On the bottom of your screen, you will see an option to type your questions in the Q&A section along the way. So please feel free to contribute, and we will answer all of those questions at the end. So without further ado, I will turn it over to our Professor Galini to start with his mini lecture.
Thank you, Davina. Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to presenting a bit about my thoughts related to what the future of work would look like, and why you're embarking on your educational career is a really key important component of this stage in your career. Can you see my screen, Davina? Good to go. Great. Well, my name is Mahir Galini. I'm an adjunct professor at Trent, and I'm excited to have you all. Today, I will talk a bit about a bit of background, what got us to where we are today, trends that are happening. Some of them are very exciting, changes in the workplace, and what we call 21st century skills. And those are skills that have been identified as really crucial to our success in the 21st century. And maybe I'll give you a brief lesson on what emotional intelligence is and the importance of it, and I'll conclude with some of my own personal thoughts. So this, where we got to today is we started with the first industrial revolution. It's taken from our shift on reliance on animals, human effort as primary sources of energy, to the use of fossil fuels and the mechanical power that enabled, so machines. We moved on to the second industrial revolution, where it began at the end of the 19th century, and the first 2 decades of the 20th century, and brought major breakthroughs in the form of electricity distribution, both wireless and wired communication, and the synthesis of ammonia in new forms of power generation, such as nuclear energy. The third industrial revolution began in the 50s. And what this brought forward is an advancement in significant digital systems, communications, and rapid advancement in computing. We saw Microsoft Office come in, the desktop PC, personal computer. All these led to a significant advancement in productivity, and required all of us who lived during that time and worked during that time to acquire new skills to remain relevant and successful. We are in what's called the fourth industrial revolution, and this can be described as the advent of cyber-physical systems. It involves entirely new capabilities for both people and machines. While these capabilities are reliant on technologies and the infrastructure that was built in the third industrial revolution, such as the computers that we're using every day, the fourth industrial revolution represents something totally new in the way technology becomes built in and embedded in society, as well as our human bodies. Examples include genome editing, new forms of machine intelligence, breakthrough materials, and approaches to governance that rely on cryptographic methods, such as something that you may all be familiar today, which is blockchain, which is what Bitcoin is built on. The complexity of these technologies and the emergent nature being new makes many aspects of the fourth industrial revolution feel different and unfamiliar to us. And in ways, it may seem threatening because we don't know what it is and we're afraid of it. We should always remember that all industrial revolutions that have come before us ultimately were driven by individual choices as well as collective choices. We are all choosing to use this technology for specific uses. And it's not that the choices of researchers and inventors and designers that created them, but more importantly of you, consumers, regulators as governments, and citizens who adopt these technologies as part of our everyday life. I am sure amongst you, there are a number of crypto traders. So let's go back to a bit of life and the world. It's completely changed how families existed in the past to what they are today. Today, small children and children deaths are very rare in the vast majority of countries, including the largest, such as China and India. If you look at the screen that I have, on the left-hand side, you will see that earlier in the early 1900s, there was a significant amount of youth death. People were having a lot of children because a lot of kids were dying. And they needed that manpower to sustain. Today, we will see that 85% of mankind, humans living on this world, are boxed into what's called the developed world. And those are nations that have progressed significantly. The remaining 15% are mostly in between the two boxes. So as a world, we have improved significantly. By 2017, we have seen a significant increase in wealth, also a significant improvement in longevity of life, a reduction of deaths, and that's all through the advancements of technology that has happened. There are only 13 countries today representing 6% of the world population that are still inside the developing box. But while the world has changed, the worldview, our worldview has not, at least in our heads as Westerners. Most of us are stuck with completely outdated idea about the rest of the world. The complete world makeover just shown in this slide is not unique only to family size and child survival rates. The change looks very similar for pretty much any aspect of human lives. The graph showing levels of income or tourism or democracy or access to education, healthcare or electricity, all these have improved in many areas of the world. The world used to divide it in two, but that is no longer the case. Today, most people are in the middle. There is no gap between the West and the rest, between developed and developing, between rich and poor. And we should all suggest stop using the simple pairs of categories that we refer to some countries as developing and some as developed. The internet technology has led to all that advancement. The decentralized nature of blockchain is going to lead more of where the wealth is going to grow in what we used to refer to as developing nations. So as those of us who live in the developed world, we need to make sure that we keep an eye out into those regions, because that's where the population growth is going to happen. And that is where the growth in financial growth is coming from as well. Today in the world, there are 4 income levels. Those who live on less than $2 a day, those who live on less than $8 a day, and those that make more than $32 a day. And each figure in this chart represents 1 billion people in the world. And today we are currently around 7 billion people, 7 to 8 billion people. And as you can see, level 4, which is where we all are in Canada today, are the ones that are the most wealthiest in the world, and we live on more than $32 a day. However, you can see the majority of people are living in level 2 and level 3, where people have most of their basic human needs available. For some examples, this is level 1 income people. You start on level 1 with $1 a day. Let's say you have 5 children. They have to spend hours walking barefoot with their plastic bucket back and forth to get water from a dirty mud bowl, which is about an hour's walk away. On their way home, they gather firewood, and you prepare the same gray porridge that you've been eating at every meal every day for your whole life, except during the months when the meager soil yielded no crops and you went to bed hungry. One day, your youngest daughter develops a nasty cough. Smoke from the indoor fire is weakening her lungs. You can't afford antibiotics, and 1 month later, she is dead. This is extreme poverty, and this is where 1 billion people today live. Yet, you keep struggling on. If you're lucky and the yields of your crop are good, you may be able to sell some surplus crops and manage to earn $2 a day, which would move you to the next level. Good luck. Well, let's talk about what level 2 looks like. And as you can see, some of the images will show you what their facilities may look like. So in the first slide, I showed you what a toilet looks like, what they cook on, and what their houses looked like. And this is level 2 income today. You've made it. In fact, you've quadrupled your income, and now you earn $4 a day, $3 extra a day. What are you going to do with all this money? Well, now you can buy food that you didn't grow yourself. You can afford chickens, which means eggs. You save some money and buy sandals for your children, and maybe a bike and more plastic buckets. Now it takes you only half an hour to fetch water for the day. You buy a gas stove so your children can attend school instead of gathering wood. When there's power, they do their homework under a bulb, but the electricity is too unstable for a freezer or refrigerator. You save up for a mattress so you don't have to sleep on the mud floor. Life is much better now, but still very uncertain. A single illness, and you would have to sell most of your possessions to buy medicine. That would throw you back to level 1 again. Another $3 a day would be good, but to experience really drastic improvements, you need to quadruple your income again. If you can land a job at the local garment factory, you'll be, if you could land it up, yes, you'll be one of the first members of your family to bring home a salary. Roughly 3 billion people today in the world live on level 2. Moving on to level 3. Wow, you did it. You've really worked multiple jobs, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you've managed to quadruple your income to $16 a day. Your savings are impressive, and you install a cold water tap. No more fetching water from a muddy hole. With a stable electric line, the kids' homework improves, and you can buy a fridge that lets you store food and serve different dishes every day. You save to buy a motorcycle, which means you can travel to a better paying job at a factory in town. Unfortunately, you crash on your way there one day, and you have to use money you have saved for your children's education to pay the medical bills. You recover, and thanks to your savings, you're not thrown back at a level to level 2. 2 of your children start high school. If they manage to finish, they'll be able to get a better paying job. To celebrate, you take your whole family on its first vacation, one afternoon to the beach just for fun. Roughly 2 billion people live on this level in the world today. Now let's move on to where we're at, and that is level 4. You have more than $64 a day. You are rich, you're a rich consumer, and $3 more a day makes very little difference in your life. That's why you think $3, which can change the life of someone living in extreme poverty, is not a lot of money. You have more than 12 years of education, and you have been on an airplane or vacation. You can eat out once a month, and you can buy a car. Of course, you have hot and cold water indoors. Population is growing. If we look at the trajectory, we think that we will exceed 15 billion. However, because we are slowing down in our the number of kids that we're having, we're going to see that level off. Currently, we're at 7.6 billion people, and yes, it's growing fast. Still, the growth has already started to slow down. And the United Nations experts are pretty sure it will keep slowing down over the next few decades. They think the curve will flatten out, and we will end up with between 10 and 12 billion people by the year 2100. The number of children is not expected to increase, which we know already from what we've talked about earlier. Now look closely at the line in this graph. You can see when it gets flat, and you can see that it's already happening. The graph is no longer trajecting upwards, it is sloping towards the right. The United Nations are not predicting that the number of children will stop increasing. They're reporting that it's already happening. The radical change that is needed to stop rapid population growth is that the number of children stops growing. However, since this is happening today, we should know that in 1948, on average, women gave birth to 5 children each. After 1965, the number started dropping like it had never done before. Over the last 50 years, it has dropped to just below 2.5. As billions of people have left extreme poverty, most of them decided to have less children. They no longer needed large families for children labor on the small family farm. They no longer needed extra children as insurance against child mortality. Women and men got educated and started to want better educated and better fed children. And having fewer of them was the obvious solution. In practice, that goal was easier to realize thanks to the wonderful blessings of modern contraceptives, which led parents to have fewer children without having less sex. The dramatic drop in babies per woman is expected to continue as long as more and more people keep escaping extreme poverty and more women get educated, and as access to contraceptives and sexual education keeps increasing. Nothing drastic is needed, just more of what we are already doing. The exact speed of the future drop is not possible to predict exactly. However, these are good forecasts. So what does this mean to all of you? Well, take a look at this. This is a breakdown of the population by age. Since people are living longer and people are having less kids, you will realize in this chart that as we progress through the decades, the number of children will still remain consistent. However, people are living longer, healthier, and more productive lives. In 2030, there will be 2 billion new to 0 to 15-year-olds. Everyone else will have grown older. The 0 to 15-year-olds of today will have become 15 to 30-year-olds. The 15 to 30-year-olds of today would have become the 2 billion 30 to 45-year-olds. There are only 1 billion 30 to 45-year-olds today. So without any increase in the number of children being born and without people living longer, there will be 1 billion more adults. The 1 billion more adults will come from new children, but from children will not come from new children, but from children and young adults who've already been born. For 3 generations, this pattern will repeat itself. And by the time in 2060, the 2 billion 45 to 60-year-olds will become 60 to 75-year-olds, and we'll have another 1 billion adults. But look what happens next. From 2060, each generation of 2 billion people will be replaced by another generation of 2 billion people. So therefore, the fast growth continues, and it will eventually level off. So what does this mean to you? Yeah, there's a lot of people, which means it's a very competitive world. Technology has allowed for an increase in competition for labor, for the workforce. COVID has tipped the scale for the use of technology to conduct business. Organizations are able to hire labor from other countries at lower wages. The internet has allowed that. The need for skilled workforce has required companies to go externally to find workers to fulfill their needs. So there's a saying that's usually attributed to Lenin: nothing can happen for decades, and then decades can happen in weeks. And this is exactly what we saw in the past 2 years with COVID. Our future has been defined by the need for innovation and transformation. By recognizing that we're operating in a time of intense competition, changing demographics, rapidly evolving technology, and limited government funding, we have realized that we need to adapt and adjust so that we can sustain into the future. Also, local and global competition has increased, with COVID proving that technology in some industries is as effective as in person. The workforce, you, the future workforce, is recognizing that lifelong learning is relevant and required for the individual and community success, as we will continue to navigate an ever-changing environment. So I want to talk about what the fourth industrial revolution is going to bring. It's going to bring or improve inequality. It'll also bring with it actually will come some insecurities, and then what it means for our identities. So history has indicated that consumers tend to gain a lot from industrial revolutions. We see significant advancements. The cost of goods fall. I mean, if you look at the cost of PCs today, they are keep getting cheaper and much stronger and powerful, because the industrial revolutions have allowed the price of goods to fall and the quality to increase. And it seems that this will be continuing in the fourth industrial revolution. Both the third and fourth industrial revolutions are making possible products and services that increase the efficiency and allows us to enjoy them more in our lives, while also reducing the costs. Organizing transport, booking restaurants, buying groceries, and other goods, making payments, listening to music, reading books, or watching films, these tasks can all be done instantly, anytime and anywhere you are. Well, the most discussed driver inequality that may be a potential for the fourth industrial revolution is an increase to unemployment. All industrial revolutions create and destroy jobs. But unfortunately, there is evidence that new industries are creating relatively fewer positions than in the past. According to a report by Oxford Martin Program on Technology and Employment, only 0.5% of the North American workforce is employed today in industries that did not exist at the turn of the 21st century. A far lower percentage than the approximately 8.2% of new jobs created in new industries during the 80s and the 4.4% of new jobs created during the 90s. Increasing inequality doesn't just affect productivity. It also affects mental health and trust. It also creates security concerns for both citizens and states. The United Nations highlights that a hyper-connected world, which the internet has created, when combined with rising inequality, could lead to fragmentation, segregation, and social unrest. This mix of factors creates the conditions for violent extremism, as we are seeing today, and other security threats enabled by power shifting to non-state actors. And again, blockchain and the decentralized economy will help expedite this. The rapid increase of digital infrastructure, thanks to the third industrial revolution, means that during the fourth industrial revolution, cyberspace is now a strategic theater of engagement, as land, sea, and air was in the past. As the United Nations puts it, while any future conflict between reasonably advanced actors may or may not play out in the physical world, it's definitely going to include cyber dimensions, simply because no modern opponent would resist the temptation of disrupting, confusing, or destroying their enemy's sensors, communications, and decision-making capabilities. We are seeing that today with cyber attacks, hacks against organizations, holding organizations' data ransom. So if you're thinking about a future profession, cybersecurity, computer programming is a great fit and should keep you employed for many years. The technologies of the fourth industrial revolution also offer expanded capabilities for waging war, which are increasingly accessible to both state and non-state actors, such as drones, autonomous weapons, nanomaterials, biological and biochemical weapons, wearable devices, and disrupted energy sources, as has happened in the past in many nations. In addition to concerns around rising inequality and threatened security, the fourth industrial revolution will affect us as individuals and members of our own communities. Already, we're seeing digital media increasingly being the primary driver of our individual and collective framing of society and community. News is driven through Facebook, Instagram, a lot of news that is fake, a lot of news that is not accurate. And these are all impacting our abilities to foster friends and create new interest groups within those environments. Unfortunately, this expanded community connectivity does not necessarily lead to expanded or more diverse worldviews. Paradoxically, the dynamics of social media use can serve to really narrow available news sources. In addition, controversial or anti-establishment views, as we are seeing today, can further undermine states. Could lead to platforms that restrict speech, as well as harass citizens. It's important that all these emerging technologies in the fourth industrial revolution increase diversity and the potential for collaboration rather than driving polarization, which means that governments and institutions should take a close look at what the impact could be and set guidelines, policies, and ethical restrictions that will ensure that these tools are used for the right purpose. So I wanted to show you some of the jobs that are no longer going to exist due to the fourth industrial revolution. And I'm sorry, maybe this is a bit blurry. Some may be telemarketing jobs, tax preparers, insurers, umpires, referees, other sports officials, legal secretaries, hosts and hostesses at restaurants, real estate brokers, farm labor contractors, secretaries and administrative assistants, couriers, and messages. And if you think about these, and you think about how repetitive the tasks are in those roles, you can think of technology that exists today that can do the job of all of these current relevant people. Jobs that may strive into the future: mental health, substance abuse, social workers. As if you think of the platforms that we discussed earlier with the fake news, the harassment, and so on, yes, we're going to need a lot more mental health workers. Choreographers, physicians and surgeons will continue, psychologists, human resources managers, computer system analysts, archaeologists, marine engineers, sales managers, chief executives. So the fourth industrial revolution may affect inequality across economies as well as within them. In particular, the increasing flexibility of capital in the form of robots and other advanced manufacturing systems that may erode the advantage currently enjoyed by many emerging and developing countries, which are focused on labor-intensive goods and services. For example, as we've shipped everything offshore, there's going to be a trend that is going to be called reshoring, whereby, for example, factory work, oops, I'm sorry, my apologies, where factory works that has been conducted in the past abroad in China may lead to being moved back to North America because of automation and machines. Well, as a general rule of thumb, the more routinized the job is, the more likely it is to be automated. In other words, the more your job involves doing repetitive actions, the more likely a robot or a computer is to start doing it for you in the coming years. That's why many lower-end jobs are going to be eliminated. A machine can flip burgers just as well as humans and doesn't need to be paid or take a break. But the same holds true for higher-end jobs. Consider the legal profession. Many of the tasks currently performed by lawyers, paralegals, and legal secretaries are very formulaic. Whether they're preparing real estate contracts, rental agreements, or divorce settlements, these tasks usually involve taking a boilerplate legal document, adapting it to the needs of your client, and filling in the blanks. With the help of some software, online legal platforms such as lawdepot.ca can do this work automatically by just asking you, the client, a few questions. There are a number of more sophisticated tasks that are also beginning to be automated. One of the largest law firms in the United States hired a robotic lawyer named Ross. Powered by IBM's Watson supercomputer, Ross can sift through thousands of legal documents in hundreds of databases and make independent decisions about which ones would be the most useful for winning a case. As a result of that, for example, the law secretary or the law clerk's role may be redundant. As a result of automation, 31,000 law-related jobs have been lost in the United Kingdom alone, and another 114,000 will probably disappear in the next 2 decades. Meanwhile, in the US, 2 out of 3 lawyers could lose their job or see them change in the next 15 years. For example, instead of writing legal documents, human lawyers will just be proofreading and editing documents written by robots. This is all troubling if you work in the legal profession, but there's a bright side. If you're a consumer, in the past, only affluent people could afford lawyers. With automation, it will lower the cost of this profession. In a headline-grabbing study in 2018, Oxford University outlined the following. By 2033, up to 47% of current jobs could be eliminated from the US economy. The reason, in the world of automation, the process by which our work is performed will become automatic without the need for human labor, thanks to robots, software, or other technology. According to the study, jobs as wide-ranging as sports refereeing, telemarketing, bank loans will disappear. Retail sales. Meanwhile, just about every remaining job will be significantly affected by automation. and a whole range of new jobs will be created. And all these will require skills to be learned by workers. Education, what you are planning to spend thousands of dollars on at Trent University, is a commodity now. But however, we're seeing that it's become commoditized because of technology providing that information at your fingertips. Therefore, the job of faculty members has to go beyond just simply transmitting knowledge. More than ever, the priority is to create new knowledge and act as the catalyst to make our students robot-proof. Imagine it's the future. Your corporation with an army of robots cranking out your products around the clock, eliminating most of your manufacturing labor costs in the process. But you still have one pesky little problem: getting those products to the hand of your customers. Well, that's where the robots come in again. The transportation industry is being revolutionized with automated vehicles. You've probably heard about the self-driving cars being tested on the highways of California, as well as other places in the US. But also autonomous trucks are also in the works, with lots of money being poured into the development of these. By 2025, 1/3 of all American trucks could be automated. At first, they'll only be allowed to pilot on highways, but eventually they could end up on local roads, eliminating 3 to 5 million truck drivers' jobs. Around the same time, Uber, Lyft, and traditional taxi drivers will be joining the ranks of the unemployed, because Uber also has been leading the charge. In 2014, the company hired almost the entire robotics department from Carnegie Mellon University, where they've been testing a fleet of self-driving taxis since 2016. Again, Lyft has done the same. Delivery drivers are also under threat. Domino's Pizza is trialing self-driving food delivery cars, and package drones are being developed by Amazon, FedEx, UPS. And speaking of drones, there are automated flying taxis already being built by Chinese company Ehang, and several of them have limited operations in Dubai. The future of automated transportation is coming very fast, and it's being driven by rapidly advanced technology. For example, sensors in self-driving cars are getting very sophisticated, enabling them to be responsive to unexpected events, like a dog running across a foggy road. As a result, from 2015 to 2016, the rate at which human engineers needed to override autonomous vehicles on test drives fell from 0.5% to 0.2%, which shows you that these machines are learning. And eventually, this will lead to zero. Workers in retail and restaurant industries, unless you've been living off the grid yourself, you would have made a number of purchases from online retailers such as Amazon. As a result of Amazon, brick and mortar stores have been dropping like flies. In the United States, just a few months of 2017, we've seen a number of retailers close: JCPenney, Macy's, Radio Shack. With each closure, thousands of people lose their jobs. Currently, there are about 1.2 million people working in retail in Canada. All those retail jobs aren't going to be replaced by Amazon jobs. That's because we will need fewer employees. We will require more technology, more robots, more drones, and more automated systems. And you've seen the example of the Amazon store, where you don't need any staff in it. You just go in, pick up what you want, and walk out, and that is complete. Even though we talk about cutting labor costs in North America and getting, it refers to really getting rid of workers. The US fast food industry alone will lose 3 to 6 million jobs in the coming years. Nowadays, when you need to do your banking, it's possible to go for years without ever having to visit your physical branch. You can update your information, carry out transfers online. You can deposit and withdraw money from an ATM. An ATM stands for automated teller machine. As we move towards a cashless society, we will more and more no longer need to visit a bank branch. And as the advent of blockchain and cryptocurrency comes in, and is more and more adopted by organizations and governments, you will find that the bank's systems is completely going to change. And there will need to be an adaptation to the new technology that exists. Even investment firms are using computers to build complicated algorithms that can provide investment feedback and information to investors looking to make a financial commitment. The health field has changed. Have you ever felt sick and Googled your symptoms? Yes. Before online search engines, virtual assistants like Alexa, we had to go see our doctor. However, now we have the opportunity to self-diagnose ourselves. However, does not mean that doctors are going to go away or surgeons are going to be redundant. What it means is this technology will be used to make it easier and allow doctors and surgeons more time to do the much more important work and learn new things and continue to evolve and advance. Medical treatments, robots are here. Hospitals have engaged with robots to conduct surgeries. We even have nanotechnology that in the future will be able to go into your blood vessels and clean out the plaque and reduce your risk of having a heart attack. We are in the cusp of the decentralized economy. In the 60s, we saw the rise of the robots, automatic factories. Many of these factories, as we discussed, are now moving back to North America. The reshoring approach is happening. Four factors that are helping drive the revolution of automated factories are the robots. Chinese labor is getting more expensive. And then modern robots have higher productivity than humans. They can work 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. 77% of jobs in China are threatened by automation. So the economy there, the factory there has to look at how to advance the training and knowledge of their people. Driverless cars are hitting roads. Powered by artificial intelligence, robots can climb stairs, open doors, win contests, analyze stocks. A robot-proof education is now imperative for all, and it's not concerned solely with ensuring students are filled with a lot of hard skills. It really is important in calibrating the way we can build a creative mindset and have a mental elasticity or agility to invent, discover, or create new things of value to a society. Institutions should look at training students in humanics, which builds on our own strengths and prepares students to compete in a labor market which smart machines work alongside human professionals. Human literacy, or what is defined as humanics by Professor Owen from Northeastern University, is the new curriculum that is needed. This is a lifelong learning opportunity, and that will support the needs of students to continue to gain skill set to remain relevant in the world today. As technology automates, the more tedious routines will be done by people will be replaced by machines. So what do we teach students? Well, we need to look at the 3 C's or the 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. More broadly, we should downplay technical skills and emphasize more on general purpose life skills. There is a theorist, Tony Wagner, who identified the 21st century skill sets that are required to succeed in the 21st century. Jobs that require the human touch and have not been replaced by machine require thoughtfulness, emotional sensitivity, and emotional intelligence. These will be among the top 10 skills that employers look for in a new employee. Also, complex problem solving, as well as critical thinking and creativity skill sets, are all part of the top competencies that they are looking for. Graduates with broad skill sets will sustain this technology on-ramp. The best way to prepare you for this new economy is to ensure that we're providing you with a well-rounded education that includes solid human skills. Curriculum should be infused with learning that will provide you those skill sets upon graduation. So what are undergraduate competencies? Today's business leaders expect their employees to not only have technical skills relating to their discipline, but also employ higher level of what's referred to as meta skills. Meta skills go beyond a graduate's content knowledge. If you're an accountant, that's your hard skill. So it goes beyond that. And it refers to the competencies one applies as you go about your work. Tony Wagner, he's an expert at Harvard University, has identified the curriculum of the 21st century and coined them as undergraduate competencies. These specific competencies have been embedded within the courses of creative learning, and they include critical thinking and problem solving, collaboration, agility and adaptability, initiative and entrepreneurship, effective oral and written communication, accessing and analyzing information, curiosity and imagination. If there's one thing you've learned so far, it's that automation is going to shake up many industries in the years ahead. Some new jobs will be created, but many others will be eliminated. And the old jobs that survive will be radically transformed. With so much change going on in the economy, you will have to learn how to adapt. Updating your skills, even after you graduate, will be a constant that you'll have to continue, including skill sets such as virtual reality, metaverse, engaging in the metaverse, and being able to understand that technology and how to work with it from a human perspective is going to be imperative. But education itself is going to be reshaped by automation as well. Yes, we're talking about robot teachers. However, it does not mean that professors will be replaced. What it means is the questions that you're asking as students and you're seeking answers for that tend to be repetitive and routine will be replaced by a chatbot or something similar to that. However, this will give the professor an opportunity to continue and advance and provide more value-added education. Because robots in the classroom could lose their Wi-Fi connection and end up malfunctioning. They may not be able to get cues based on students' understanding of the topic by reading their facial cues. Imagine if Professor Einstein could do the same thing, unlike his human counterparts, and that is the robot. He'd be available 24/7. This would allow us, the human teachers, to spend more time on training you on what's called soft skills. With all this technology taking the redundant work away from us, this is really going to open us up to more time to spend on recreational and fun activities. And that is why video games, people wanting to live in the metaverse, are going to be big in the future. Movies, books, things related to entertainment, travel. As we continue to embark and embrace technology, that will allow us more time, bring the cost of activities and technology lower, allowing us to have much higher disposable income and much more time to spend on doing the things that we enjoy. As educators, we want to make sure you are career-ready citizens. Are you robot-proof? Do you possess the soft skills and undergraduate competencies to succeed in today's world where a machine is replacing humans in any industry, not needing intricate human manual dexterity? Well, what we need to do is to transform education by creating opportunities for all students to participate in a meaningful experience learning, with focus on work-integrated learning, such as co-op opportunities or placements, as well as applied research. So having capstone courses in our programs that allow you to work on a real-life business problem. We want to connect you with strong, sustainable collaborations with our industry peers, community, both locally and internationally, connect you with our alumni as well. We will continue to re-envision the curriculum, invest in experiential education, and put lifelong learning at the heart of what we do. Education is its own reward, equipping us with the mental furniture to live a rich, considered existence. However, for most people in advanced society and economy, such as ours, it also is a prerequisite for a white-collar employment. Without a college degree, typical employees will struggle to climb the economic ladder and may well find themselves slipping down the rungs. Despite the advent of robots and automation, humans will be required for jobs that require creativity, critical thinking, innovation, and high emotional engagement. More than before, these will be requirements for your work. Emotional intelligence is as a component of interpersonal skills, aids in managing personal feelings along with moods and emotions. Many times, leaders attempt to eliminate emotion from their decision-making. However, we need to realize that emotion plays a big part of our everyday lives. Companies are looking for leaders with high level of hard skills, which you are learning. However, they lacked a lot of the soft skills which they require. Emotional intelligence taps into fundamental element of human behavior that's distinct from your intellect. To improve your emotional intelligence, there are a number of steps that you need to embark on. One is self-awareness. You need to understand yourself better. You need to reflect. You need to conduct some assessments to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and better understand your communication style so that you can interact with other participants in the workplace from a position of understanding your own strengths and recognizing other people's strengths and energy. Once you identify those, you can start working improving your own self-regulation. Without being able to reflect internally and understand yourself better, you will not be able to make good decisions. Being able to manage your emotions and your energy is critical to your success. Clausen, a leader and an expert in leadership, states that it's very important to understand that to be able to control the energy within yourself and understand it, and then to have the ability to recognize the energy within people that you work with and determine based on your understanding of what their emotions are to gain, to have a better work relationship with them. You do not want your emotions to hijack any relationship that you are having. This skill, emotional intelligence, make leaders unlikely to jump to conclusions or judgment. They're more likely to get to the root of the issue and to have strong emotional reactions, good strong emotional reactions to others. In other words, it's essential to have social awareness capabilities. And to do that, you need to have exemplary listening skills. And this is part of the training that you receive at your institution as you complete your education. And some simple things are when you are meeting with someone, meet with them and do not look at your phone or read your computer. So as a summary, AI promises to be the biggest technological shift in our lifetime. For the foreseeable future, AI is there augmenting our capabilities, allowing us to do more with better accuracy in less time. However, every industry will have to fundamentally reassess how it operates in order to incorporate AI and coexist with machines that will become invaluable partners in solving real problems. Technology is changing, and the ramification of this evolution will be felt in every aspect of life. How we interact is going to change in ways many people just can't imagine right now. One thing is certainly clear. Breakthrough technologies will continue to transform experiences for businesses and consumers alike. Leaders must be willing to embrace their civic duty. The actions of an individual must benefit the society as a whole. The arrival of brilliant machines in a way changes the notion that an applied practical education is needed for a good career. These machines will fill the jobs that require data crunching, simple analysis, and data entry. The roles of the future will be those that are filled with creativity. By automating our work environment, jobs will become more interesting. Our goals will be to educate younger learners, older learners, company employees, or gig workers. Learning is now an ongoing voyage with many stops, but never an ending terminal. We will help individuals brace for change and embrace the technological miracles that lie ahead. If we are able to reach more and educate more people, we will see a shift in society, making it more equitable, more just, and more sustainable. Thank you for your time. I hope you find value in this presentation today.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Professor, for that informative and insightful lecture. Now we will get started with the question and answer period. As we're waiting for students to ask some questions, I will ask you, Professor, now, what your favorite course that you have taught at Trent was and what you think that students enjoyed the most.
I think the favorite course that I've taught is always the Introduction to Management. I think that course is fundamental. It's a first-term course, and it's usually great to see excited students, usually at the first term, keen. And the one thing that I like about that course, it's very foundational, but it also allows the infusion of a lot of different perspectives as they relate to industry today, the work environment today, the need for the skills of today, and showing how throughout history, from the first industrial revolution to where we are today, how things have changed and how the role of workers has changed and how the role of the workplace has changed in improving the lives of people worldwide.
I totally agree with that. I remember my first year class with Professor Galini, and he taught us all about management, contemporary issues in management. I believe that's the name of the course.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a really great course, and I do recommend it if any of you are entering into business at Trent Durham and at Trent in general. So thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to welcome you on campus someday soon. We offer campus tours from Monday to Friday, and you can stay up to date with our tour offerings at trento.ca/tours. I would also like to formally invite you to our virtual fall open house happening on November 20th, where you can meet our deans, our current students like myself, admissions, scholarships, resident staff, and much, much more. And just by joining this presentation today, you will be entered into our contest to win free first-year tuition. One winner will be drawn for each of our 2 campuses, for Durham and for Peterborough. Every time you connect with Trent, you will be entered in the draw. We are also giving away a Trent hoodie every day this fall. Just by attending this presentation, you will be entered in today's Trent draw hoodie. If any guidance counselors are presenting to a class, we ask that you please send an email to trenttalks@trentu.ca after the presentation with the students' names and their emails if they want to be entered. And if you have any questions past today, please reach out to discovertrent@trentu.ca or discovertrentdurham@trentu.ca. I hope you all have a great day, and thank you so much for joining. Bye for now.